Not sure if we can be heard at the moment in time or not, John. We'll bear through our audio difficulties. We appreciate everybody in the chat letting us know. We're struggling with a few technical difficulties on the audio side, but our video coverage shall remain the same. So I don't know what our viewers may or may not be hearing at the moment, John, but it's John Camosa, Gavin Russell. Let's say they haven't heard us up to this point, John. Catch us up on what's going on, maybe a look at both these teams as we get going.
Yeah, just getting back to our point, Gavin, obviously if you said if we can or can't be heard, we'll get you up to speed, and that's one thing we're going to see in this game. A lot of up-tempo basketball. Both teams love to get out and run, and just there we saw that dunk by Jarrett Jackson. He's a rim flyer, and he can get above and beyond the rim and soar.
Indeed, there's a lot going on here as Tavy Smith, as we'll settle into the game with the team, and Daquan Little settling in nicely. And one opportunity for the senior, transfer from Peoria High.
We got a packed gym here at Richwoods, and if that's one thing the Knights want to put on for the hometown crowd, it's getting that early lead, a chance to extend it to 7-0 with the free throw.
Lots of great players on both sides. Richwoods the more experienced bunch. Lots of seniors on this Richwoods roster, including Daquan Little, who makes a short trip over from maroon and black to green and white here at Richwoods. Manuel will try and knock their first bucket in. A 7-0 start for the host Knights. They'll work it around. Gets it down, ball's up. Tried to be saved and taken away by the Knights. Here comes Little again. Sommerville drives down the lane with two hands. The finish. That's already the second dunk we've seen in just over 2 minutes in this game.
Yeah, both Jackson and Sommerville, two guys that can really get up and throw it down, and that is one way to fire up your crowd and your team here at Richwoods, but the Knights are looking strong, 9-0.
9-0 start for the Knights. Manuel has been very good to start this season. You know, they are certainly in the thick of things. Richwoods may be favored a little bit just because of all the talent they bring back. But Manuel's 3-1 so far, and it's going to be an offensive foul, as it looks like Manuel just has some of those jitters.
Yeah, they do, and I think it's one thing, you know, you start to get into the flow of the game and settle down, but right now Richwoods taking that early momentum. They're trying to ride this here in the first quarter.
Lots of momentum for the team in white. Tavy Smith down the lane, no good. Sommerville up again, fouled, and nearly an and one, as he'll go back to the line to shoot a pair. Lathan Sommerville, who of course has great ties to the Peoria area. Marcellus Sommerville, standout at Bradley University back during their 2006 Sweet 16 run to the NCAA tournament, has played in Peoria as a freshman at Notre Dame, has spent the last couple of years abroad. The last couple of years abroad for him, and then coming back home for his senior season, he's picked up a recruitment to Rutgers. Down the lane, there's the first bucket for the Rams. It's London Tolliver gets him going.
And a lot of, to your point, Gavin, with Sommerville going to Rutgers, Dietrich Richardson here with the ball right now, getting offers from Illinois. A lot of Big Ten talent on the court.
Certainly is. Dietrich Richardson is a junior the other way for Manuel, and he's already got about 4 or 5 D1 offers, a couple of local teams in the mix, Illinois and Bradley amongst them. Tavy Smith will take the inbound, guarded by Tolliver. Smith, an all-conference member a season ago in the Big 12. Sommerville imposes his way in, jumps in is short. Richardson comes up. Here's Trapp. Goes up over the outstretched arm of Sommerville.
It's a great move there from Traps. Played in Arizona last season, comes back to Peoria Manual, and not afraid going up on Sommerville, the 6'10 senior.
Certainly not. Smith goes up and all the way around the rim and scores. Now we're getting some back and forth with the Knights with a 9-point lead still. Dietrich Richardson guarded by Jared Jackson. Lots of energy. Makes a move and is fouled by Jackson, who is also an all-conference member. The thing that stands out to me is, of course, we can hone in on the college talent, but all the accolades that and the notice that all of these guys on the floor see.
Yeah, we talk a lot about Lathan Sommerville and Dietrich Richardson, but to your point, Gavin, yeah, you can't just zone in on those two guys. There is a lot of talent on the floor. They can spread it across both ways.
Rebounded up and in. Second chance effort from Nas Jackson. Jackson, a transfer from East Peoria, who spent the last 2 years with the Raiders, playing pretty significant varsity minutes in his underclassmen years. Down to Sommerville. It's stripped away by Jackson. Sommerville gets it back, and it's blocked by Richardson, but a foul.
That good help defense there from Richardson, but just draws the contact. Sommerville chance to go to the line and extend this lead.
Sommerville already with 6 points. He is, without a shadow of a doubt, liable to go for well into double figures, if not 20 or more. Makes the first foul shot. Second one on the way from Sommerville, trying to get it back to a 9-point ball game. It is up and nothing but net. A little full court pressure from the Knights. They'll ease up. Traps has it. Down to Jackson, over to Traps again. They'll work it around. Down the lane. Takes it up and it's turned over. Bounces around. Jared Jackson. Numbers for Sommerville. Stolen by Nas Jackson. Down the lane. Up. And it's going to be a blocking foul. Looks like the right call there, John. He was falling back before there was ever contact.
Yeah, that's just a great heads-up play there from Nas Jackson. Not only does he get the strip, takes it in transition, then able to pick up the contact there for that blocking foul. Chance to go to the line for 2 more.
And you got to think, despite a 9-0 start for Richwoods, Manuel's very much in this game still. Makes the first free throw. You can get this to a 5 or 6 point game. Keep yourself within striking distance. You're never out.
No, these are two teams that are going to battle. And, you know, even Richwoods getting that big lead, Manuel storms right back into this game. I think we're going to see this one be a back and forth first half for sure.
It's tipped away. The call, it'll stay with Manuel, so missed free throw. They'll get a chance at another possession here. Inbound to Richardson, up and in for 2, so it ends up being a 3-point possession for the Rams, and it's a 6-point game, 3 minutes to go in the first quarter. Tavy Smith down the lane, and a foul is called. Some contact before Nas Jackson grabbed the ball. Both teams positively impacted by transfers. As you mentioned, Traps coming from Arizona, Jackson from East Peoria. Sommerville coming down from, I believe, Tennessee is where he was playing some prep ball. And Daquan Little from Peoria High. If you get transfers in the right way, they can certainly be an impact.
Yeah, and they come into their role and step up in big ways to start the season. You see how everyone's meshing early on in the year. Only 2 losses between both teams. Manuel at 3-1, Richwoods at 6-1. So these teams are really finding their groove here early December.
They sure are. A lot of it, too, is how you put together your team as a coach. We'll talk more about the coaching history here in a little while. Tavy Smith knocks in both of them. As Humbles moves up the floor. Humbles a sophomore. Backdoor cut to Traps. Gets it off. Nas Jackson will eventually recover there. Nas Jackson on the floor, and he'll take a foul. And not in the bonus yet. Next one will be the new rule, as maybe you've heard through our coverage of the Washington Tournament of Champions. No longer is there the double bonus. Team fouls reset after each quarter. Grant can't get it to go. Turns around again. Second effort is in from Jakyle Grant. But back to the new rule change. 5 fouls in 1 quarter will earn the double bonus for a team. So a bit of a difference there. Fans will get used to in a travel.
One thing we've seen here after Richwoods took that early lead, Manuel's really stepped up the defensive pressure here to get their way back into this game. No signs of letting up.
Certainly not.
For the Knights, number 3, Tyrese Carter.
Tyrese Carter checks in. And Traps will dribble ahead. Lots of time left to go in this ball game. Thanks for joining us here on ClutchSportsOut.com. Tipped away, and it'll be turned over by the Rams. A few turnovers by each team. As Jared Jackson will inbound, get it over to Carter. And back to Jackson, the signal caller, who's been a big part of the team for the last 2 seasons. Stripped away, got pinned up, and we'll have a jump ball here. As the Rams will get the possession, so overall, not a bad job there to force a jump ball.
Yeah, another great defensive effort from Manuel. Able to get the ball back. And they can cut this to 3 with the 3, Gavin, and it's been an exciting first quarter.
Certainly has been. I have not seen a regular season game this packed, especially this early in the season, in a very long time. Everybody to our left, to our right, and all in front of us, stands are packed. The sidelines are packed. This is a must-see basketball atmosphere. Dietrich Richardson through the lane, and he's fouled on the way up. We'll see who they charge it to. It's going to be Jared Jackson. It's Jackson's second foul, so one of their leading starters at guard already picking up 2 fouls. Do you maybe sit him for a little while?
Yeah, I would, Gavin. If you're Coach William Smith, probably a good idea to keep one of your best players, on the bench, which they're going to go to here. And 2 fouls here in the first quarter, not what you want to see get into foul trouble and potentially pick up his third, so I think this is the right choice.
Most definitely. Will Smith, an experienced head coach. He's been around the block. Both are good from Richardson. It's a 4-point ball game. Don't let the 9-point lead for the Knights fool you into thinking that one was over. This is going to change quite a few times in a turnover. That defensive pressure continuing to hound.
And that's what Manuel's defense will do. They apply that pressure. It forces you to make mental mistakes. And right there, another turnover for the Knights. See what the Rams can do on this possession.
Traps has a little over a minute. Bounces off at his tip, so get it back into the front court. Kicks it back. 3-pointer off the mark. Dietrich Richardson trying to come up with the board, and Tavy Smith gets it out. Body hits the deck. Down the lane, Etherly, and it's going to be a jump ball. It'll stay with the Knights.
Jump ball will go to the Knights.
As both teams liking to play quick. Etherly, a senior, played quite a bit last year, is a good forward for the Knights. And a traveling violation. Turnover starting to pile up, and not what you want to do at the end of the first quarter.
No, not the turnovers you want, forcing them on your own, travels, ball out of bounds. Little things you have to clean up here in a tight game like this.
Most definitely. Late substitution. Tony Bradford, a sophomore, checks in. Three Knights on the press. They get it into Richardson. Beats it easily. They really want a long possession. They may be able to hold the last shot, but Richardson probably not interested in that. They'll turn it over. And that's something that we talk more and more as we get undoubtedly closer to the shot clock era, John. Teams are not looking to just hold the ball for a minute. They want to score whenever they get an opportunity.
Yeah, certainly, and I think it helps speed the game up as well. And, even with the shot clock we saw at the TOC, a lot of teams are just go, go, go.
And Tavy Smith drove in right there on the foul. They are over the limit, but it'll be a shoot for two anyway. As Smith will try and jump this to possibly up to a 6-point lead. Just barely over 30 seconds to go in the first frame. Things got started a little late here tonight, but all the fans were able to file in. Nobody was late. And second one on the way from Smith is nothing but net. As Caden Johnson will make an appearance here with 30 seconds to go. Manuel may hold for the final shot with under 30 seconds on the clock. Traps, dribbles around, nearly slips and falls. Had a man underneath. Stopped up, Carter. Up and under, blocked by Sommerville. 4 seconds, now 3. Sommerville, coast to coast, 3 at the horn, off. What a really entertaining first quarter, John.
It certainly was. Both teams just going back and forth there, and then a close 3 by Sommerville. Almost got it to fall, but that is the first quarter we thought we would see 2 high-powered offenses.
Certainly, and John, let's talk about the legendary coaches that have come through both of these teams, and that undoubtedly a good coach is what really makes a good team. You can have great talent, but if you don't have a leader, it can really take a toll on your team. But both of these programs have been blessed with many great leaders. You look first at Manual. Most recently, Willie Coleman, who's now at Limestone, led the Rams to a 4th place finish back in 2019, but can't talk about Manual without talking about Dick Van Sciach, Wayne McLean. I mean, the tradition of great coaches now extending to Marvin Jordan has just been incredible.
Yeah, and Marvin Jordan knew when he took over this Manual Rams team that, he had big shoes to fill, and, obviously continuing that tradition, but, you talk about Dick Van Sciach, Wayne McLean. When you think Peoria basketball, the rich history, obviously Manual and their 4 state championships back-to-back-to-back, arguably one of the best teams of all time. And, it's really awesome what it's done for the city. And then Richwoods building their own tradition as well as a high-powered basketball team, and that tradition's lived on for decades.
Indeed. Marvin Jordan, the current coach, his 2nd season, sporting the suit. You don't see that very often. The little old school, maybe a homage to his predecessors of old, McLean and Van Sciach. And then for Richwoods, of course, Bob Darling, Mike Ellis. Now to Will Smith, I should say, who's been here for now his 14th season. As runner away in the second frame, stolen away by Tavy Smith, got tripped up and he'll go in with the layup. Looked like a defensive back for the interception and took it to the roll for 2.
Yeah, kept his footing there, nice job, gathered himself, and then just a finger roll for 2 as the Knights pull away with that lead just a bit.
Jump shot from the wing is good. Tony Bradford, the sophomore. Lots of juniors and sophomores, so a lot of this Manual team you can expect to see back a season from now, but the Rams have their eyes set on 2023-24 first. Sommerville will take McClendon up and on the floor. Got bumped before he took it to the rack and kind of gives a little shrug there. Thought he had the continuation. What'd you see there, John?
Yeah, that's just a strong take there from Sommerville and able to finish. But that's one player, when he gets beyond the arc, he can cross you up and then take it to the cup on you. But he's not one of those players that just sits around the basket. He's got a great jump shot, mid-range shot, and he's got guard-like speed.
Certainly does, but Tavy Smith, don't forget about him. He just puts another bucket up and in. He's up to 10 already, leading scorer amongst anybody. And the senior, who definitely shouldn't be overlooked, is putting on a show. Down the lane, goes to McClendon, up and in for two. Good passing from the Rams. As we're really getting an offensive slugfest here. Well on pace to get this one into the 60s or 70s points-wise. Sommerville throws it over the head and a turnover. Jared Jackson wasn't really looking for that one.
I think just lost the handle on the ball a little bit, and it's right over Jackson's head on that one. Not even a jump would have got that one.
A little miscommunication, and 2 minutes in, 6-point game where we stood at the end of the first. Traps has it. Throws it over the head of him. We're missing on some passes here both ways. So we'll see if both teams can rein it in a little bit, but very indicative of playing fast basketball. You'll have this from time to time. Down to Sommerville, over the head, and he slams it home. Lathan Sommerville, we're not just counting points, we're counting dunks, John.
Yeah, he's got quite a few already, and once he positions himself, calls for the basketball, turns around, that's a two-handed slam all day long for the senior.
Dietrich Richardson, smooth-looking stroke. And Richardson, a different player than Sommerville, but without a doubt, it is that athleticism and that shot-making ability for him. And another dunk for Sommerville. Save some for the rest of us, Lathan.
Hey, once he gets that first step, Gavin, just a drop step, able to hammer that dunk. You don't see that a whole lot in high school basketball, but at 6'10", he can do that night in and night out.
Truly impressive. No good. Traps gets it back. Three-pointer. Third opportunity, no good. And a foul is called. It's going to stay with the Rams. So not one, not two, not three, but 4 opportunities now for Manuel. You got to love to see that if you're Marvin Jordan.
Yeah, you certainly do. I mean, just continue to go after the basketball, never give up on a play. And when you're playing a high-power team like Richwoods, that's what you got to have on the floor.
Without a doubt. And Bradford fouled. Sophomore getting a lot of minutes. Marvin Jordan probably appreciates it. He played on some really good Manual teams in his time as a player. He was part of 2 state Final Four teams, but wasn't a big scorer, but did a lot of the little things. Very scrappy, versatile player. You love to see that out of your guys. Traps will be the inbounder. A long possession here for the Rams. They've had about 4 shots at it already. Has to get it in. It barely does. Richardson, and it's stolen away by Daquan Little. Goes down the lane, stops up, and it's going to be a travel. The pressure from Richardson was a little bit too much. I think that was played perfectly.
Yeah, that's great defense there from Richardson, you know, able to slow him down a little bit. Too much of a quick step, loses his footing, travel. Emmanuel, another turnover, now a timeout for Marvin Jordan.
Probably a good timeout as we're about halfway through this second quarter, and still a 6-point game, or rather 8-point game. As Richwoods still in front, they got out fast to a 9-point lead. Manuel had it as close as 4. We appreciate you joining us here at ClutchSportsIsle.com. Alongside John Camosa, I'm Gavin Russell. Owen Dimful at the controls and Robert Brown on our camera, experiencing some audio technical difficulties, so we apologize for the delay of getting up and running. And I don't know how the quality is, John. We're using Plan B, but hopefully you can still hear us. The delay of starting the game was due to a scary JV injury. A player we did not catch the name of from Manual went down and had to be tended to by medical authorities. We hope the best for him. The game ran behind. Due to that, we're back up and running here in the second quarter. As Nas Jackson will recover things on the Shield logo. Looks back to Bradford. Gets it back to Richardson. Tries to make a move, hesitation, and he's fouled on the floor. Nice patience there from the Rams. Richardson with that little hesitation move, able to draw the foul.
Yeah, that's just a smart play there from Richardson, you know, able to get them off their footing a little bit, draw that contact. Now Rams, another chance at it right here.
They've been good at extending possessions, trying to finish on a little bit more, but Richwoods' defense has stayed stout all along. And Tavy Smith, I think what caused them right there was just kind of that slap at the back end. Looked like good defense, just a little bit of a careless reach-in.
Yeah, you know, that's one play that can be avoided a little bit there, but I think he was going for that steal. We saw it earlier in the game. He had that breakaway. I think he was going for another 2 points right there.
Bradford able to tiptoe the middle mark, stays in. Traps down the lane, nice feed. Oh, it can't go in though. Off the rim and out. Jared Jackson down the lane, gets it down Sommerville. Saved and recovered by Bradford on the interception. Down and he's fouled as he goes tumbling into the cheerleaders, and he'll shoot two.
That's just a great move there from Bradford, the sophomore, able to just get in front of the defender, kind of stop his footing, then draw contact, avoid the block, and go to the line.
And I think one thing you like about a young team, John, is of course you're going to have your prolific guys that you're looking at, Richardson, among others. But when you have games like this, it may just be kind of a night-to-night basis. You get a different young guy that steps up, which really proves, hey, we got a big future in front of us.
You know, that's one thing, too, you know, with Manuel and even Coach Marvin Jordan here. Always, you know, telling the underclassmen, these are guys that can step up in big situations. I think that's one thing when he took over, he knew that was going to be key. And we've seen a lot of underclassmen step up in big spots throughout the years for Manuel.
Second one is good by the sophomore Bradford. He'll check out. Already played some big minutes for the Rams and has a couple points to show for, some rebounds, couple steals. Marlon Heron gets it down to Sommerville. Backs down, goes to Etherly, up, and he's fouled. A chance at one more in the old-fashioned three.
Not only can he score, but what court vision there from Sommerville. Just fires that pass over the hoop and harm. Chance for another one.
He'll get a chance to make this a double-digit lead for his Knights. He can't, though, as Traps will direct traffic. Goes down the lane among everybody. Bodies hit the deck, and they'll call a goaltend. Officials will converge. And they will count the basket. What fearlessness there from Jarrell Traps. Almost said Jaron. He'd be a familiar name to Manual fans. And they're going to give him the foul.
Yeah, that's just a great effort there from Traps. And, you know, you got to appreciate the effort from Sommerville. Goes soaring there, but just catches it too late for a goaltend and the chance for another one from Traps from the line.
Didn't initially see the foul call, but he's able to get three right there, so makes it a 6-point game. Under 3 to go now in the first half. Jared Jackson goes down, and he's fouled. Maybe caught a little arm after tipping the ball. And Jared Jackson will go to the line to shoot two.
Foul's going to be charged to Trap, and Jackson, number 5, to shoot two.
Jackson has a pair of points tonight and adds to his total with the free throw.
Number 3, Carter, back on for the Knights, as is 15, Jackson for Manuel.
He'll shoot for the second shot and just off. Unfriendly rim to Jared Jackson. Down the lane, tough jump shot over the outstretched arm of Sommerville, and it's going to be a travel as he falls down with the ball as Heron. So yet another second possession for Manual.
Manuel's doing a nice job of just getting the ball, drawing some contact, and also forcing Richwoods turnovers.
Three-pointer, no good. Tipped around, and it'll go back to Richwoods. Couple hands touched in there. They'll say it was off of Nas Jackson. Amari Breedlove was the three-point shooter. He's another transfer. He played for Manual's football team. Transfer from Notre Dame. He's a junior. Jared Jackson paces Richardson. Richardson hit the deck. Down to Sommerville, over three bodies, up and good. Unstoppable from Lathan Sommerville.
That's one thing. It doesn't matter how many defenders you put on him, he finds a way to power it through. Manuel had three on him that time.
Nas Jackson for three. Stolen away on the inbound. Dietrich Richardson. Fast-moving game. Nas Jackson, another three. Doesn't hit anything that time. Maybe a heat check from the young fella.
Yeah, that one's going to stay with Manuel, though. Off the hands of Richwood, so another chance at it. But Nas Jackson on a heat check.
And it's a Richwoods home game, John. But the energy inside this gym for both squads is palpable. You can feel it on every shot. Everybody holds their breath. What you love so much out of great Peoria area basketball. And whenever I talk to people among Peoria schools, I always tell them when Peoria area basketball teams are good, it just makes basketball in the IHSA better.
Oh, it certainly does, Gavin. And, you know, this game, you brought up the point, packed gym, Tuesday night. This feels like a Friday night regional championship game, you know, here at Richwoods. Both crowds, Richwoods home crowd, Manual visitor, it's loud in here. We're having trouble hearing ourselves, Gavin, but this is a great atmosphere.
John, I can't hear you talk, let alone hear myself think, but you love it. You love the energy from both squads. Everybody showing up for a big game. But I think the nice thing now is, Manual's enrollment is smaller. They'll be competing in Class 2A. So while the regular season, both teams will be focused on defeating each other, going into the postseason, maybe they can root for each other. Just being from Peoria, root for Richwoods in 3A, Manual in 2A, and you love to see that also.
Oh, you certainly do. And, we've seen that in the postseason. An area team gets knocked out, and you see the opposing teams rooting for them. This just Peoria appreciates Peoria basketball. These city teams, they're so solid.
And it's going to be a foul the other direction. Peoria High, no slouch either. They have a big one against Morton tonight. We'll see if we can work on a score update at halftime. Morton has been blazing out of the gates. The Potters and Abe Zeller in the middle Illini. But the Lions under Daniel Ruffin, also very good. Notre Dame, whom Manual just narrowly defeated. Owen Dillon, the Belmont commit. So Big 12 Middle Illini basketball peaking at the right time. And a travel from Etherly as we'll go the other way. 6-point game. A three could make it a one-possession game, but probably a few possessions left for each side. How big for Manual would it be to get this within a possession?
Yeah, this would be huge, obviously, and, you get that crowd back underneath you. We hear them behind us how loud the visiting section is, but Manual is right within this game, and a basket here would be huge.
Dietrich Richardson. Tipped, nearly stolen by Marlon Heron. Nas Jackson, three-pointer, off and up onto the stanchion behind the backboard, and it'll go back to Richwoods. 58.3 ticks on the clock. Heron guarded by Breedlove. Sommerville, low post. One-on-one, backs him down, spins around, shoots. No good. Jackson tried to stuff it home. He'll get it back. Goes down the lane. Up. Charge is the call on Jared Jackson. That is his third foul. That's a big note there for the Knights.
And I think they're going to take out Jackson once again. So in foul trouble going into the second half. Never a good sign there for Will Smith and the Richwoods Knights. That's one of your star players.
Just over 30 seconds to go as Dietrich Richardson moves it around. In trouble. Down the lane. Up and banked off the glass. Bank is open late for Terrence Page. And Richwoods may take the last shot, but Smith will go up quick. Up and in and one. Nas Jackson on the block, and Tavy Smith with a chance at one more.
Just an incredible effort there from Smith. Jackson not afraid to put his body out in front, take that charge. But it's going to turn into a block and a chance for three-point play here from Smith. What an effort.
Tavy Smith is on a different level right now. Just trails Sommerville. He has 12. He can have himself 13 points with a made free throw. He does. And gets us back to a 7-point ball game.
Number 25, Truman Rocker.
Jackson will have it for possibly the last shot. 10 seconds to go. Dietrich Richardson down the lane, up over the outstretched arm of Sommerville, no good. Tipped away. Jackson at the horn, almost in. Nas Jackson threw up a prayer, and a 7-point ball game is where we stand. Richwoods 35, Manual 28.
Just a very entertaining first half, exactly what we thought we'd see. Gavin, right now Richwoods with the lead, but I think we are in store for quite the second half.
Very good first half indeed. Lathan Sommerville 14 points, Tavy Smith 13 points. On the other side, a lot of different Rams getting involved. We've seen buckets from Dietrich Richardson, Jarrell Traps, Nas Jackson, and others getting in on the action. 10 minutes on the clock for halftime. We'll be back with a couple minutes left to get you some more coverage. John Camosa will have the beat on the stats and scores around the area, and we'll have the second half of basketball coming for you on ClutchSportsAl.com. Not sure where the other game is at we're doing tonight, but 2 games tonight for ClutchSportsAl.com. The coveted Washington Metamora rivalry also on ClutchSportsAl.com. So if you want your fix of Mid-Illini basketball while this game is at halftime, go over and check that one out, but don't go too far. We'll be back in just a little over 10 minutes here on ClutchSportsAl.com. John Camosa, Gavin Russell, we'll talk to you soon. Welcome back to Richwoods High School, the dungeon, or the castle, however you want to refer to it. Back for a second half of action here on ClutchPartsAl.com. Big 12 Conference Basketball. It's the Manual Rams making the short trip from the south side, trailing by 7 to the host Richwoods Knights. Got a little time here, a couple minutes left on warm-ups. Take a look at some of the key players and start with Lathan Sommerville. We've talked a lot about him, but there you see him right there on your screen, committed to Rutgers University. So if you're a Big Ten fan, perhaps a fan of Illinois, Wisconsin, or Iowa, maybe a scary sight to see Sommerville here in his senior season. Looks like a grown man. See him stand at 6'9", 225. Had other offers, including hometown Bradley, Georgia Tech, SMU, Wake Forest, and Xavier. Excellent player for him. And then how about Dietrich Richardson on the other side for Manual? He's not committed yet, but he certainly has the D1 aspirations in his future. He's committed, rather offered by the likes of Illinois, Vanderbilt, Bryant, Bradley, and Southern Illinois for the 6'6", 175 junior. I interviewed Dietrich back at the Washington Tournament of Champions, so he's got some big things in his future. John, we'll go around the area a little bit, and we heard a big score update, something that shocked both of us. It's early in the season, so sometimes you get the skewed scores on a bad night, but Peoria High really flexing some muscle. Halftime, they're up 30-13 over the Morton Potters.
Yeah, Morton coming into that game at 6-0. You know, great start in the Washington Tournament of Champions, getting some hardware over there for first-time head coach Abe Zeller, and then been on a roll ever since. Big win over Rantoul, over Canton. But right now, just running in to a really good Peoria High team. We'll see if the Potters can come back in that one, but that would be a great win for the Lions. And then the other score update was Metamora holding on to that 15-12 lead on Washington. Mid-Illini rival game. That was after one quarter. We'll try to keep you posted on that. Gavin, one thing I did want to touch on to start this second half, and I'm sure you noticed it, but Lathan Sommerville was warming up. He's wearing number 31 now. I think he got a little bit of blood. He cut his elbow in that late second quarter there, so now number 31, you can't miss him. Number 31, not 24.
I went to change it on my game notes here, but I figured, what are the odds of me losing track of Lathan Sommerville? Probably next to none. But we're not losing any track of this ball game. John Camosa, Gavin Russell on the call with you as the Knights start out with the ball as we are underway in the second half.
So it's going to be a big start here for Richwoods. Obviously, they want to keep that momentum going with the lead, but Manual, look for them to apply even more defensive pressure cut into this.
Three-pointer from the newly 31. And 31 hits a three. Lathan Sommerville with a chance at 4. Remarkable.
A lot of great players have wearing the number, Gavin. Reggie Miller, number 31 for the Pacers. That looked like a shot he would hit there from beyond the arc. Now about Lathan Sommerville, 6'10", he could step out and shoot the three as well.
The modern era of the game, you know, has definitely moved away from just the pure post interior player. You know, nowadays to be successful, you really need to be able to play everywhere on the floor, and Sommerville is the true breed. He does it just like Dad Marcellus, who was also known to hit some big three-point shots in his day. Traps, and it's poked away.
Sommerville in the second half.
Right now for Manual, they'll roll out traps. Out there with Jakyle Green, Nas Jackson, Dietrich Richardson. And rounding things out, got it tipped away right there, is Nas Jackson. Three-pointer on the way. It's good from Louderman. Louderman's first bucket of the game. Didn't see him really at all in the first half, but he's been a known knockdown three-point shooter.
Yeah, that's a big-time shot for Louderman. Obviously gets that crowd back into it here as the Knights continue to extend this lead.
Sommerville with the steal. Big start for the Knights. Three-pointer, Tavy Smith gets it to go. Timeout, Manual. What a start from the Knights, who are up 7 at the half. Look at their lead now.
Yeah, this is a team that once they turn it on, they can really get it going right here. And Richwoods showing just that to open the second half. Tavy Smith, a big three. Louderman, huge three. And Sommerville add to the party with the three, but Richwoods really turning up the heat. We'll see what type of answer Manual has coming out of this timeout with Coach Marvin Jordan.
A quick 10-0 start here for Richwoods. They started the game 9-0 start, so Manual was able to hold steady and cut back that deficit by 2 by the end of the half. Thought maybe they would, want to come out and try to play a close third quarter, keep it within striking distance, but boy, really ballooning it here like a faucet with a broken handle. You just can't stop it. They went with a little bit of a different lineup. As they put the senior Louderman on the floor, who instantly came in and hit a three-pointer. Manual out of the timeout will roll with Jackson, Richardson, Page, Traps, and Finley. Stolen away again. Tavy Smith down, back to Smith. Another three, he cannot miss.
How about that ball movement? Louderman back to Smith. Smith buries another one, nothing but nylon. And Gavin, they have really pulled away. 20-point lead now for the Knights.
Richardson answers, but not before a 13-0 start, as the Knights are just all over this one at home. Sommerville low post, up and almost finishes, gets his own miss, and he's hacked. And a big-time foul right there sends him to the line to shoot 2.
It took a hard foul there from Richardson, and Sommerville kind of hunched over in pain for a little bit, just wiping his face. But how about his size and frame down low, Gavin? A player that can go up, miss, get his own rebounds, and just draw that contact. Such a hard player to guard at 6'10".
He's up to 18 points. He'll shoot, and he makes the first. Line change for the Rams. Several new players come in for Manual. And both are good. And a foul, a little bit of a late whistle right there. Going up for the shot was London Tolliver, and with the lead, not too much of a concern, but Jared Jackson has been in foul trouble seemingly all night, as he'll pick up his 4th.
Yeah, and one thing when you can build that lead, it takes a little bit of pressure off Jackson. Still sitting with those 3 fouls, but right now Manual just looking for some type of answer as the minutes tick away here in the third quarter. You got to get back into this game if you want a chance.
A little issue here at the scores table. Not sure what the motioning is for. Try to get a read on this here. It's hard from all the way up here to get a read of what's actually happening. One of these days, though, we'll have a reporter down there on the scores table to relay us some updates. Looks like they got it all sorted out as to who the foul was on.
Again, number 3, Tolliver is shoot 2.
London Tolliver is off on the first.
22, Heron back on.
Marlon Heron checks in for Jared Jackson. Will Smith still inquiring something about at that scores table. I'm fixated on that. It Seems to be maybe an issue in the scorebook with the amount of fouls or something of that nature. Looks like we're all squared away. Second one is good by Tolliver. Sommerville bullies his way in, kicks it out. Louderman, three-pointer, no good. Sommerville tipped around, taken down by Tolliver finally. Over to Richardson and a steal by Louderman. Down to Sommerville, can't get it to go. Back and forth, fast-paced ball. And a foul finally will stop the action. For as sizable as Lathan Sommerville is, and as many points as he's had, Manuel's done just about everything they could to stop him, and that last sequence shows.
Yeah, you really got to throw all your defenders at him to try to contain Sommerville down low. They do a good job, but what a sequence. Both teams just going back and forth, trying to get something to work here, but Richwoods still holding on to that comfortable lead. We'll see what Manuel can do. Once again, another timeout.
Will Smith still talking with something with the officials in the scores table. Clearly there's an issue I guess I'm not picking up on entirely.
And I don't know, Gavin, maybe what they had in the book, if that didn't translate to the scoreboard. I'm with you on the amount of fouls, but something, Coach Smith pretty heated over this. I mean, we can't really see from up here, but much to his displease, he does not like something potentially with the fouls.
Really giving the business to the official right now. Definitely in a heated conversation. Looks like he's made his point. I'm almost wondering, John, do they think they missed some points on the scoreboard? I mean, I feel like that would be pretty significant of a thing to have badgered about. His squad is up big still, 18 points. Three-pointer from Traps can't go. As Heron steps out on the baseline, so it'll stay with Manuel. And to be honest, John, while Richwoods very much in the driver's seat, if there's not many teams that can pull it off, but I think Manuel's one of those teams, you know, if we're going to see a comeback, it could be Manuel.
Yeah, they really just have to get it started with one. We saw what they did in the first half after going down 9-0. Just a quick run, getting right back into that game. But now Richwoods hanging on to that big lead. We'll see if the Rams have another push in them.
Full court pressure from the Rams. Stolen away. They'll drive down. Passes down to Breedlove, and he'll go up and in for two. So the full court pressure has worked well. A couple turnovers and as many possessions for the Knights. Down to Sommerville. Kicks it over. Little for three. Off the mark. Sommerville with the board. Drops it down. Up and just off the back iron. Up again. Second chance opportunity is good from Marlon Heron.
And I think if you're Manuel, you want to obviously try to trap him at the half court, get those steals in transition. Once it gets down to low to Sommerville, not only can he score, but he can work the ball around so effectively. Once again, he shows that playmaking ability.
Dietrich Richardson loses it. Tavy Smith, nothing but space. He tried to slam it home. Got taken out on his legs and got stuffed by the rim. He had one thing on his mind, and that was a tomahawk dunk.
Yeah, that would have erupted that student section right there that he was in front of on the Richwoods side, as well as the fans. But, you know, we've seen quite a few dunks in this game already. That one would have been the most explosive.
Picks up the foul, so he'll try to earn the points from the charity stripe instead. He does get the first. Caden Johnson, the sophomore, back in along. Tony Bradford for Manuel checks in with Terrence Page. Bradford played a lot in the first half. Maybe not the big names among this Peoria Manuel team, but emerging sophomore nonetheless. Tavy Smith, an already nice 20-point affair for him. He'll make it 21. As Smith and Sommerville have been the focal points tonight for Richwoods. Down the lane, tipped around. Jackson shoots for three, off the mark, and Sommerville with the board. He's going to go down the lane, coast to coast, up and out of control, and a blocking foul. Marvin Jordan says who. Kind of a 50-50 call. A couple bodies hit the deck. What'd you see, John?
You know, good play there from Sommerville, able to kind of avoid a little bit of contact off to the side. I want to say if he's running straight at him, we probably see a charge there. But a blocking foul. You know, it's hard to stay in front with that 6'10" frame coming right at you, but that's obviously the play Richwoods want, to keep going in transition, get to the basket, draw contact.
And Jakyle Green back in for London Tolliver. Sommerville hits them both as the lead continues to extend. 22 points now for the Knights. It was just 7 at the half. Nas Jackson drops it down. No good. Sommerville with the board. He's hounded. Gets it out to Tavy Smith. Marlon Herron dribbles around with it. They want to find Sommerville in the post. Now he's double teamed. Tavy Smith has it. Steps back for a three. Almost in. Couple players slipping. The other way we go. Bradford shoots for three on the other end. Just off the mark. 2-on-1. Sommerville off the Little. The triple, no good. Good looks for both sides. Just can't hit it. And a blocking foul is called here. Is not in the bonus yet, so it'll be a foul on the floor. As Darren McClendon will check back in for the Rams. Sommerville will check out for the Knights, a well-deserved breather. He did not play in their game the other night against Illinois Valley Central. IVC, a smaller school not too far from here. Knights took care of business in that one, and a foul on the floor. Sommerville's already played in a lot of tough games. You know, you got to get your legs up to speed, but having faced off against some great teams at a tournament up in Rockford, including against Morez Johnson Jr., the Illinois commit who's at Thornton now, Sommerville's already got his fair share of tests.
Yeah, he certainly has, and you know, you look at that lone loss that Richwoods had to Thornton. You know, Thornton, the number 2 team in the state, they just knocked off Chicago Kenwood. That was only a 2-point loss for the Knights. You know, a game that Sommerville picked up fouls late, but this is a battle-tested Knights team, and Sommerville to be in the middle of that core, you know, speaks volumes. This is a team that wants to make a deep postseason run.
And kind of a new tradition starting for the Knights. Will Smith had taken the Knights to 8 regional title appearances, just couldn't win any of them. I think you kind of just talk about bad timing, you know, running into some great teams along their way. Metamora in past years, I think a couple of years ago they faced off with them. Washington, Peoria High. This Manual team, again, has stood in their way at times as well, but last year winning the regional, fell short to Metamora in sectionals, now primed to possibly go even farther. Could see the Knights in Champaign possibly this year for the state finals, if they can get there. Nas Jackson dumps it down, off the glass. McClendon can't get the second effort to go, and it'll stay with the Rams. Dietrich Richardson comes in. Maybe a chance in the last couple minutes for the Rams to salvage something with Sommerville off the floor. Three-pointer, no good. Both teams struggling to hit shots this evening. Tavy Smith also not out there either, so the reserves in for Richwoods. Heron gets blocked, but a foul is called first, and he'll go to line to shoot two. Probably an underrated part, Marlon Heron. He's going to need to be big next season with a lot of play pieces graduating, but already making his presence felt.
Yeah, that's one thing, games like this, against high-caliber teams, you want to see those underclassmen come in and, show what they're made of for next season when they're going to get predominantly more playing time, probably fit their way into that starting role. But this is big to see some players come in a game like this, and right now Richwoods just kind of sitting comfortable with that lead, but you could sense they want to add to that.
Marlon Heron will try and complete the second. Free throw is off. McClendon with the board. Richardson has it. Nas Jackson up and under, can't get it to go. Second effort, no good. Nas Jackson everywhere, and he'll get a jump ball out of it. As Marlon Heron immediately walks off the floor with a hand injury. Looks like might have almost knocked his hand out of place or something, or finger, jammed finger.
Yeah, when he was holding that back up going to the bench, did not look good. Almost looked like that middle finger that he might have jammed it or potentially kind of dislocated it, but it didn't look good.
Hopefully a little tape and maybe some ice, get it figured out for Marlon Heron. Steal the other way, Nas Jackson up, and it was tipped, they're going to say. Still has it, he'll be fouled. Nas Jackson, maybe one of the more overlooked players for Manual. 2 years with East Peoria. Largely filled kind of a sixth-man role. A lot of seniors a year ago for the Raiders. He's put on a little height, I've noticed. This is my first look at Manual this season, John. We've called some games for East Peoria. We've seen him in the past. What do you see out of him as a player that could really drive Manual forward?
Yeah, just a player that is, really showing that he's got to be one of the key guys for Manual this year outside of Richardson. Love the looks that he's been getting tonight. Been spacing the floor really well, and a couple threes just didn't fall, but he's getting really good looks out there, and great defender as well. But I think he's going to be a key piece going forward in the Big 12.
We'll talk more about the Big 12 Conference here between quarters. Etherly down the lane, up, can't get it to go. McClendon with the board. Dietrich Richardson for the Rams, he's got 9. Averaging about 10 points a game coming into this matchup. Bradford for 3, just off, another good look, and it's going to be a foul on Etherly. A hold on the box out. And it's going to be over the limit, so McClendon will shoot foul shots.
It's going to be charged to Etherly.
First free throw's off. McClendon kind of fills a big hole. Lost some size from a year ago, Joko. They had some big-time players, such as Carrion Farrell, Lewis Bailey, that added some good size. Losing them, got to have some players like McClendon step up for it.
Yeah, you do. Anytime, you lose those key role players down in the posts, got to add that size like you said, Gavin, but I think he's doing a good job kind of transitioning into one of those key players for the Rams.
Foul the other end. McClendon cannot manage to hit from the line at all. As Etherly will hit the first one.
On for the first time tonight for Manual, number 32,
Caden Latta on for Manual, the junior. And it's off from Etherly. Three-pointer from Burrs is good. Rather, traps. Trap hits the three. 18-point game, stolen away. 3-on-1. Nas Jackson will go up and finish himself. So a late burst from Manuel as they get a quick 5. And timeout from Will Smith. Maybe not so much a concern about blowing a sizable lead, but you don't want to get to the area that you will, a good coaching moment here in an early season affair.
No, I think that's a really important timeout there from Smith, just to kind of calm his guys down, get the ball inbounded here on this next trip down the floor. But Gavin, Manuel is certainly one of those teams we've seen throughout the years. They can rally off points in a hurry, and right there they show that with 2 quick baskets. But Manuel's certainly not out of this game whatsoever. They just got to try to fight their way a little bit, get some points, but Richwoods obviously wants to keep their foot on the gas in this Big 12 matchup.
Most definitely. Etherly to inbounds. Tyrese Carter. Guarded by Nas Jackson. Jackson still with plenty of energy, tipped away. Etherly under 30 seconds. Stolen away by Nas Jackson, runs into his own man. Dumps it off. McClendon up and under, can't finish. Somehow saved, but then out of bounds off of traps. McClendon nearly finishing an ice up and under. Can't get it to go. And another line change as the starters come back in for Richwoods: Louderman, Smith, Jackson, Sommerville, and Little, as they'll have the last offensive possession more than likely. Jackson will take it. 5 seconds now 4, now 3. Drives down the lane, up, and a blocking foul with less than 1 second on the clock. Jared Jackson will shoot a pair with fractions of a second left to go in the third quarter. A monumental third quarter for the Knights, who led by just 7 at the half and can get this back to an 18-point game. I believe at one point we were at 20 or more. And they'll just inbound it. Maybe a half-court heave from Jackson. They'll let it roll up the floor. He'll try and pick it up and throw a prayer up. He will, right from half court, off the back iron. He's had a couple of close buzzer beaters in this game, but a big quarter from the Knights as they lead by 18. And we'll get a look now, coming up in a moment, at the schedules. As you see a look at the Big 12 Conference banners. Great conference here between Central Illinois, Peoria, Bloomington, Champaign, Urbana. See Danville on there as well. And we'll get a look at the schedules for both teams shortly. Here's the Knights schedule. They got Bloomington at Bloomington. Then they'll host Peoria High. That's going to be a big one, John. I'm sure may be here for that one as well. Hyde Park coming up next Friday on December 15th. And then a look there for Manual as they'll host Normal Community in a huge showdown with a big-time 4A Ironman, Landfear, and Champaign Centennial. So a non-conference game for both teams, but a lot of big conference tests coming up for both Richwoods and Manual.
Yeah, it certainly is. And, this is the part in the season early in December, right before those Christmas tournaments start rolling around, where things are going to get interesting. This is when teams start playing some of their biggest tests, in conference play, non-conference games. But, Gavin, this is going to be exciting here. We'll see what teams are really made of.
Get towards the Christmas tournaments, a lot of really good ones around the area. I know we'll have coverage from the State Farm Holiday Classic in Bloomington Normal. Daquan Little can't hit. Bounced around. Little gets his own miss. Free throw line. Jay in and out. Rim unfriendly. Stripped away. Sommerville wanted a foul. Down the lane, and it is foul on Louderman. Originally, I think one ref was going to call a jump ball. The other calls a foul.
Louderman charged with a foul.
Probably speaks, though, John, why there's more than one official on the court.
Yeah, sometimes all about that angle. What ref saw the call, what ref didn't. Sometimes those are overturned, but I think that's the right call there, going to the line.
And Traps cannot hit the first. Been a tough shooting night for both teams. Richwoods has got a lot of their scoring done in the paint. Three-point shooting's kind of been at a premium, although the looks have been bountiful. And second one is good from Traps. Starters remain out there. 17-point lead. City game early in the season. You got to play it till the finish. And an offensive foul on Jared Jackson. He may have just picked up. Rather, it's going to be on Louderman. So Jackson will stay in the ball game and avoid his fifth foul. They're going to say he fouled out. Louderman out of the game. Again, we've already seen some discrepancy Will Smith has had with the scores table on exactly how many fouls things have happened. And you get that. I mean, a lot's happening, but I'm going to trust the scorebook at this point in time.
Yeah, certainly. And, in this type of game, up-tempo, a lot of transition, you're going to see a lot of fouls. But I think, like you said, Gavin, you got to go with the scorebook, and I think that's what's going to hold up here.
So Louderman is fouled out. Jared Jackson has 4 fouls. Tavy Smith has 4 fouls, so a lot of foul trouble. But Richwoods sitting comfortably at the moment. Tavy Smith, step back. Can't get it to go. Jared Jackson soars in. He gets up and can't finish, but he'll shoot 2. Jared Jackson just seemed to come out of nowhere, John.
And that's one thing about Richwoods, that makes them such a tough team to start this season. They just do not give up on those second chance efforts. We see Jackson's been big around the basket tonight. Tavy Smith, Lathan Sommerville, they just go after the ball after that ball comes off the rim.
Some more confusion here. Jared Jackson tosses hands up as Truman Rayer will sub in for J.D. Etherly. They finally get it figured out here as a lane violation on the Knights, and Jackson will have one shot. He can't get it to go. Breedlove up and no good. Rayer gets the board. Over to Tavy Smith, now to Daquan Little, and it's going to be a blocking foul on the Rams as London Tolliver draws it.
That's going to be charged to number 3, Tolliver. That is his 5th on the evening.
John, I got to think undoubtedly we've got viewers from a little farther than Central Illinois with eyes on this one. Perhaps people up in the Chicago prep circuit, as well as people with interest for Lathan Sommerville's future career, Dietrich Richardson's future career. Definitely just a high ceiling for both of these teams, as we've seen a great one tonight, but I mean, just what you've seen tonight, what can we expect to go further the rest of the year?
Well, I think with Manual, dropping down to 2A, we know what they're capable of. And Richwoods, obviously, they've been so close each season, making that run just a little further. Last year they lost to defending state champions Metamora in the sectional. But I think it shows a lot about both these teams. We're going to see them come March. There's no question.
And March is no guarantee in the IHSA. Playoffs get started in late February, so you got to win a couple playoff games to make it to March. So I would not disagree with you there, John. Richardson cannot finish. A lot of these basketball shots are just rimming out. Basket unfriendly. Rayer off the mark. Bradford up, and going to be a blocking foul. Rayer was moving, and Bradford will shoot 2 at the line. Bradford will get a chance to add to his totals this evening. The sophomore's got 4 points. Last score in the way of that Metamora-Washington game. And honestly, I don't think this should be a shock to anybody. As good as the Redbirds are and will continue to be, they're tied with Washington 22 all at the half. That's a rivalry I don't think that many others could top these. Peoria schools certainly have that history as well, but Metamora-Washington is something special. They're all knotted up at halftime. I'm sure they're well into the second half already, but a competitive game for sure.
I think any time you're going to get a Metamora-Washington game, it's probably going to be pretty close, what we're seeing. Washington losing both times to them last year. Obviously they want to try to avenge the loss to the rival, knock off the defending 3A state champion. You knew the Panthers were bringing a lot coming into that game. And then how about Morton coming back on Peoria High, 51-46, the Potters trail right now in the fourth quarter. What a ball game there.
Now they were down by 17 at halftime. It was 30-13 Peoria High as the Potters stormed back. So some really good ones across Central Illinois tonight. We're in the final couple minutes of this one. It's been a clinic from Lathan Sommerville and Tavy Smith as their group's in front by 17. Timeout, Will Smith. Update from that Metamora-Washington game. It's a 9-point lead for the Redbirds now in the fourth quarter, 43-32. Not a lot else going on around the area, at least what we have scores for. But some good ones coming up indeed. And, we don't have our full schedule planned out here, John, but I got to imagine we'll have some good coverage in the coming weeks before we get to some of these Christmas tournaments. Maybe any games that catch your eye, or maybe teams you'd want to see. Possibly for our viewers they'd want to see here on ClutchSportsOut.com.
Yeah, I think some teams to probably, keep an eye on here. We'll start with the small school, which we've seen them already just a handful of times at the TOC, but I think El Paso Gridley, just a really dominant team. They're going to have a lot of success at the small school level. I think Farmington, another team you throw in there with Keaton Barnes. We've seen some of his highlight reel dunks. And then you jump over to large school. I think some of the household, favorites maybe for our viewers, Metamora, Morton having a really good year, Washington, Peoria Richwoods, Manual, Notre Dame. But I think for the area teams are the kind of one that probably strikes some of our viewers' attention.
Lots to watch, a lot of great basketball. Sommerville hacked, and he'll be fouled on the floor. But a lot of teams to watch, and I think that there's any number of teams that are definitely liable to make it to the state finals. Possibly even, maybe even make it to a state chip again. I know Metamora was there last year, but you mentioned EPG. Hayworth maybe in that conversation. Michael Mosley in his first season over there. Lots of sleeper teams too that, maybe they just go on a bit of a Cinderella run later on. Sommerville is fouled again.
And I think another team too, Gavin, which we'll have a chance to see, obviously throughout the Big 12 and then run into them at the State Farm Holiday Classic, but Normal Community. After Moline won Class 4A last year, led by Brock Harding, Owen Freeman, Normal Community came into the season as the favorite to win the Class 4A state championship. They have a lot of height on that team. 6'10", 6'10", 6'6", 6'8", 6'3". It just goes down the list.
Certainly, and honestly, all those Bloomington Normal schools are really good. I mean, Purple Raiders, I wouldn't count them out per se. Normal West, very good team. They gave Richwoods a good test. Richwoods was able to prevail the other day. 3 is good as Manuel finally able to break the seal from Josh Humbles. BCC, Bloomington Central Catholic. And they got some really good ball clubs down in the Twin Cities. Sommerville continues to just get hounded as he'll get fouled again. As they'll go into the bonus now.
And I'll tell you what's going to be a fun matchup, and you just look at how hard Manuel's had to work tonight on Lathan Sommerville, but we just talked about Normal Community. Gavin, how about Jaheim Weber when he goes against Lathan Sommerville? And they'll clash in a Big 12 game, but that will be exciting. And just a lot of games up and down that schedule to look forward to.
That's got to be appointment television. Weber has been a prolific big man in this conference for a couple of years now. And Lathan Sommerville just getting started. But they both carry a great track record. Other way, Tavy Smith, exclamation point dunk. Another big dunk for the Knights, and they're up by 20. He'd been looking for that one all night and finally is able to get it. Jaheim Weber, as you mentioned, he's not committed. I don't believe he is. He's got some really good college interest. Bradley, Illinois State, so staying local. Southern Illinois. Some great Power Fives interested as well. Jackson can't finish. Other way, Traps can't finish. Track meet. As now Jackson will slow it down. Works his way in, over to Etherly, over to Smith. And he's hit on his way up, and it'll be shooting for 2. How awesome is it, John? That kind of that pipeline that, I don't want to say it ran dry, but it seemed like the local area wasn't maybe getting recruited as much a few years ago. Now, Brad Underwood at Illinois, Brian Wardle at Bradley, Ryan Peden at ISU, really starting to kind of look into the backyard again and find some of the local talent to, try to pull away. We saw Ty Pence at ISU, or at least offer really getting that Central Illinois flavor back up to the collegiate level.
Yeah, and I think most certainly, Gavin, you really look at this season, amongst maybe some previous seasons we might not have seen as much Division I talent, but you look up and down the area. Lathan Sommerville, going to Rutgers, Jaheim Weber, in the Central Illinois area, going to Wright State. Matthew Zobrist getting offers from Bradley, Illinois State, sharpshooter there from Metamora. Lasan Stowers getting Division I looks. Dietrich Richardson over here tonight, D1 looks. So it's just really up and down the board. It's going to be an exciting year.
Certainly. Apologies on getting Weber wrong there. My source was a little outdated. It had not been updated since he committed to Wright State. I knew I saw that somewhere on the social media waves. So Jaheim Weber will head away from Central Illinois a little bit, but still had the interest, and a lot of other great players from the area certainly may be staying home. Three and a half minutes to go in the ballgame. Got off to a late start, but it has not disappointed. And despite a big margin, the crowd hasn't thinned out too much. It's been a pretty packed house on hand here at the Dungeon. As once again, Sommerville is fouled. Sommerville definitely has probably shot a number of free throws.
Yeah, it's one player, that he's just gotten inside, able to draw that contact, get to the line. We've seen him do a handful of different things. Those drop step, two-handed throwdown, dunks, shooting threes from beyond the arc, that mid-range game, just what it takes to be a Big Ten player. He's showing that.
Again, a fearsome sight if you're maybe an Illinois fan, knowing, hey, he's going to be coming to Champaign next season. And a kicked ball right there. Rutgers definitely got a good one, though. A lot of teams were on his radar for good reason.
I think that's one thing, too, Gavin. You know, Brad Underwood watching from afar. We saw him at the Washington Tournament Champions. Sommerville going to Rutgers, you know, Dietrich Richardson, not an official offer yet, but interest from Iowa. I think Underwood obviously wanted to try to keep as many local guys home as he can in Champaign.
Certainly, and of course, Dietrich is a pretty common name maybe around Illinois. Think about DJ Richardson. Better known, I should say, as DJ Richardson. Some years back, it's Dietrich's uncle that played at Illinois and had a great career for the Fighting Illini. So could he keep the family pipeline going? Maybe he'll switch it up and play for the hometown Braves, or maybe another school will catch his eye. Vanderbilt. That's got to be an intriguing one for the Commodores. You never really know. You know, some guys will wait a little bit. Richardson, a junior, has a lot of time to kind of figure out his plans. And that's not to mention, you know, there's several other guys on the floor that are not maybe getting those D1 looks, but they're going to head to play D2, D3, JUCO ball that we don't usually hear till, you know, later on in their career, maybe closer to the end of the season. We've seen great players out of the local area go to state. I mean, just a lot of great non-D1 players also that should get some recognition.
Yeah, I think those two teams, and you mentioned one of them, Winona State. You know, Tyler Mason, Metamora, committed there. We've had Declan and Connor Dillon from Notre Dame previous seasons played there. Devin Whitelow from Washington, you know, now a coach over there. But Carl Sandberg, another team that just, you know, grabbed some great local players. But, you know, really intriguing. Even the guys that don't go D1, like you said, Gavin, we've seen some great talent playing in JUCO and NAIA and, you know, ICC.
Don't count JUCO out. We've seen great players. It seems like every year there's always guys that transfer up to the D1 level from JUCO that are stars. I mean, if you're a Bradley basketball fan, how could I not talk about Malavi Leones or Christian Davis, who both JUCO products that have turned out to be phenomenal Division I stars. So don't count yourself out if you're just playing a couple of years. A lot of great young players out here. I'm pretty certain Jarrell Traps will be playing at the next level. Nas Jackson certainly has got to be in the conversation. For Richwoods, plenty of others as well. Jackson will go up, and he tried to put an exclamation point down, but he'll get fouled. Boy, real damage was on his mind.
That one would have brought the house down late in this game, but tried to go for that one-handed flush on the defender. Just missed it.
And I don't know that he's left-handed, but he tried to take every bit of that down with the left hand, John. I can barely dribble with my left hand, let alone go up for a dunk. Jackson is off. Saved by Jackson somehow. Gets his own miss on the free throw. And he'll get fouled, so he'll go back to the line. Marlon Heron, maybe if you're wondering, went out earlier with a hand injury. Had possibly even some dislocation. He's back on the bench now. Got the hand wrapped up a little bit. That never feels good to maybe jam a finger or something like that, but one of those things I think a lot of basketball players will just tell you just kind of work through and deal with.
Yeah, certainly, and obviously wish for the best there. But, you know, Jackson's still in this game, still giving it a lot of effort. And, you know, Gavin, tonight, Richwoods just really showed that after having that slim halftime lead, they just turned on the gas there in the third quarter, able to pull away. But this is going to be a fun team to watch throughout the year. And, credit to Manual hanging in there. This team will definitely bounce back strong.
Manual has had a tough time getting over Richwoods. They've lost all 3 meetings last year, and they'll lose the first this year. But lots of time left for the Rams to figure things out, as Rams much younger team right now than the Knights, and no good, but it'll go to the line to shoot 2. It's a figuring out process here early in the season. Richwoods, I know, around the holidays will travel out east to New Jersey as they'll play in an event hosted by Rutgers. Really cool experience for the Knights, and Manual will stay a little closer to home as they'll travel up about an hour or so north to Pontiac. Pontiac usually's got some good basketball up in that direction. John, I'm a little partial to State Farm Holiday Classic and both the boys and girls tournaments that are hosted down there. Large school and small school. Hosted at, I believe, 5 different venues, if I'm not mistaken, between the high schools as well as the Shirk Center at Illinois Wesleyan University. And that's a tournament that just with so much action going on, there's no shortage at any level for both boys and girls.
No, and certainly can't beat that atmosphere at Illinois Wesleyan, when they play some of the main games there. You get basketball from the morning very late into the evening, and quite the way to spend your holiday weekend, watching some great basketball both on the girls and boys side. And, looking forward to that as we approach the Christmas holiday soon.
Limited time. So the Rams will keep trying to tack a couple points on to finish this one up. Good chance for some of the reserves here for Richwoods. Eli Barksdale drops it off to Caden Johnson. Kicks it back to Barksdale for 3. Off the mark. Other way we go. Lotta steps up. Jumper from the lane, no good. Up. Cannot hit. Multiple efforts. Bounced around. Volleyball. 3-pointer again from Manual, no good. Tipped around a billion times. Richwoods will come out with it. Under a minute to go. We'll see if Richwoods will try another shot here. Looks like they may set something up. Stolen away by Lotta. Down the lane as Humbles loses it off his leg. Johnson, tight guarded, as it'll be poked out of bounds. And the remaining few seconds will tick off the clock. They're going to hold it. And that's where we'll wrap things up, barring them taking another shot. But big victory, John, from the Knights. They'll be winners tonight, 73-49. Or not. They proved me wrong at the last second. 73-51. Doesn't change the outcome, changes the score a little bit. But the Knights still big winners on the home court in a big-time Big 12 matchup.
Yeah, an exciting game. First half, obviously different story, back-and-forth game, and then the second half was all Knights, and that one able to pull it away with a barrage of threes that really opened up that third quarter. But overall, big win for the Knights. That's going to look good on their schedule.
Against the Peoria High Lions, sophomore start time 4:30.
Big efforts out of the area. Metamora winners at Washington. Did not get quite a final score at Peoria High. That was a big one we were keeping an eye on as the Lions jumped out to a big lead. We'll see if we can get a final score on that one. The Lions hang on and beat Morton by 5, 57-52. Those games a little closer. Richwoods blows out to a big second half lead. Doesn't look back for the 22-point effort. That's going to wrap things up here tonight. Appreciate you joining us here on ClutchSportsOut.com, barring a couple technical difficulties and a bit of a delay to start the game. But that'll wrap things up. We'll be back more for great coverage. Don't miss our action on social media, as we'll have upcoming schedule and announcements, I should say, as well as some video clips and stuff. I know our own Kenny Clifton was in the house for this one, so look out for some of those highlight reels on Instagram, also Twitter and Facebook. But for now, we'll sign off from Richwoods. Big winners are the Knights, 73-51 over the Manual Rams. For John Camosa, I'm Gavin Russell, and our other great crew, Robert Brown and Owen Dimfel, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you soon for more Mid-Illini Conference and Big 12 Conference basketball action on ClutchSportsOut.com soon. Have a good night, everybody.